Welcome to this quick video on OTPIQ's new fraud protection system. OTPIQ can check both phone numbers and IP addresses to cut down fraud. When you open the fraud page, it asks you to enable rate limiting. To do that, go to Settings, then Limits tab. On this page, you'll find two types of rate limiting. The first one is phone number rate limiting. When you enable this, you can decide how many OTPs a single phone number can receive within a specific time frame. For example, here I've set it so each phone number can only get up to 5 OTP codes in 10 minutes. This works as a phone number level anti-fraud measure. It prevents anyone from sending an abnormal number of messages to the same number. That's helpful in two ways. It saves you credit balance as the project owner, and it also protects recipients from being spammed. The second option is IP address level protection. While the first rate limiting option is great for preventing multiple OTPs being sent to the same phone number, an attacker could still bypass it by using random phone numbers. This way, they can still send a large number of messages to unwanted users, which can hurt both your credit balance and your project's trust. That's where IP address rate limiting comes in. When enabled, it lets you control how many OTPs a single IP address can send, regardless of the phone number. To make this work, you need to include the requester's IP address in your request body inside an anti-fraud object with a property called requester IP. Then, simply set how many OTPs an IP address can send and the time frame. Once you've saved these settings, let's head back to the fraud protection page. Now that we've enabled the rate limiting option, the dashboard looks a bit different than before. Here's what we can see. Total blocked IPs. This shows how many IP addresses are currently jailed from sending OTPs. Blocked phone numbers. This tells you how many phone numbers can't receive OTPs because they hit the phone number rate limit. Next, we have two more cards that show you how many phone numbers or IP addresses were rate limited today and over the last 30 days. Below that, there are two charts. The first shows the total requests blocked per day. The second shows the countries where those blocked IP addresses are coming from. Scrolling further, we have two tables. The blocked IP addresses table, which lists all the IPs currently jailed. The blocked phone numbers table, which does the same thing, but for phone numbers. Next, under the IP list tab, we have two options. Allowed IP addresses. These are IPs that will never be rate limited. For example, your development IPs or any others you want to exclude. Banned IP addresses. These are permanently blocked IPs. You'll need to manually add any IP addresses you don't want to be able to send OTPs to your project. Now, let's go ahead and simulate the IP address rate limit so you can see exactly how it works. Now that we have an IP address in jail, here's what the table shows us. The IP address itself, the location where that IP is coming from, how many requests it sent before being jailed, and how many requests it has tried to send while blocked. These don't go through since the IP is already blocked. On the Actions column, we have three options. Remove the jail time. This allows the IP to start sending OTPs again. Add to the Allow list, which means this IP will never be rate limited. Add to the Permanent Ban list, which completely blocks this IP from ever sending OTPs to your project. Before making a decision, it's always a good idea to click the Inspect button. This gives you detailed information about the block and helps you decide which action to take. So let's go ahead and try that. Here you can see some important details about the IP address, like the country, city, and ISP information. You'll also get a map showing the approximate location of the IP. On top of that, it tells you whether this IP is a residential address or if it's coming from a proxy. On the right side, there's an activity timeline for this specific IP. This shows how many times it's been jailed in your project. That's really useful to understand whether this was just an honest mistake or if the IP is actively abusing your system. Now, when you're dealing with a large amount of traffic, reviewing all this information manually can be overwhelming. That's why OTPIQ does the heavy lifting for you. By combining your anti-fraud data with our external signals, we create a risk assessment for each incident. Clicking the Risk Assessment button opens a report that includes the threat level and a verdict on what action you should take. This way, you can confidently decide whether to revoke the jail time, let it expire naturally, or block the IP address entirely. For this example, I'll go ahead and block the IP address. And remember, you can always unblock it later from the IP list tab if needed. The phone number rate limit works very similar to the IP address limit. It shows you which numbers are currently jailed, how many requests they made before being blocked, when their first and last requests were, and how much time is left before they can send OTPs again. You can also manually revoke them at any time. And that covers OTPIQ's anti-fraud measures as of now. We're continuously adding more signals and protections to detect fraud. Depending on when you're watching this video, new features may already be available. So make sure to check out our website and read the documentation to stay up to date. Thanks for watching and have a great day.